We're here.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the last episode of NookTalk Live. Oh my God, get your tissues out. Zachariah, how the heck are you, man?
4 months later, man. We got stuck in a time warp. We had a show November 7th, and then, I don't know, I've just been hibernating ever since. No, I'm doing really good. It's so good to see everybody. We had to bring it back. We had to run it back. Animal Crossing may never do anything again, but we had to bring it back for you. There's tea to spill. There's drama to discuss. There's Animal Crossing to talk about, of course. There's the future. And there's you. And Pat, I think I speak for both of us, and just a humongous thank you. 45 episodes strong of just a fantastic community. And no matter what, like this moment and these moments will forever be my favorite on YouTube. Like this community that we have here, the audience that has grown around the game, and you and I's friendship and the fun that we've had. Just it's that's really good though. It's genuinely like unmatched. It's genuinely been such a treat. Such a treat.
No, it's been amazing. And actually, if you guys are longtime fans of this show, this started without Zach and I, and Zach kind of, took over for Bobby, who, we started the show. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this show for me and for a lot of people was like the voice of the community, and like talking about new things and new updates, and people that never played Animal Crossing were right. Like, well, what's Halloween like? Like, tell us more about this. So
Halloween is not a good day. It's one of the worst holidays. It's low on the ranking tier.
Nope. But no, yes. Thank you guys. 45 episodes. I feel like is over 2 years. Mm-hmm. I feel like we never put out an episode that we were just not proud of. And
there was that one.
There was that one. There was that one that is unlisted now. But listen.
Is it really?
It is.
Okay.
I don't want to keep that up, man.
I just wanted the receipts,
I can give you the link.
That's fine.
But no, I mean, real quick, there's a lot of confusion on why this show's ending. And basically, Zach and I, we feel like this show is a very news-focused, speculation-focused show. So seemingly, there is nothing on the horizon, and we don't feel like this show could stick around. I mean, we would have to change the whole show, and at that point it's a different show. But we do have a very interesting, it's weird because usually when games come out you start with the review, but now we're ending with our Animal Crossing review, and we're going to be giving our scores and
breaking new ground here on NookTalk, doing things in reverse order. I think we should walk the people back. I think there's probably some curiosity on what happened the last 4 months. We had a show November 7th. We hooped and hollered about ACNH 2.0. We were all excited. Happy Home Paradise was brand new. It was fantastic. Pat and I met up at Disneyland, and he hated me so much that he said, the show's over. It's done. Terrible. That picture you saw, it was completely staged. That was not real.
We met up. Zach... You should see Zach in public, guys. He's the guy that demands green M&Ms only, and it was pretty ugly.
It was really fun. It was really nice. We had a really good time. It was a great Disney day. We tried to get Pat on all the best Disney stuff. We tried to get you into both parks. Disney wasn't going to have it. They stymied our attempts, but we still had a lot of fun. Honestly, We totally talked about and planned. We even recorded segments for the next week's episode, and then it just, I don't know, it didn't materialize. But there was nothing, no bad blood or anything that would have caused it outside of really Nintendo's fault, I guess, is how you put it.
Well, plus you and I both were moving.
Yes.
We literally moved at the same time, and then
to the same house. Pat.
Same house. Zach, quiet down. No, but we moved at the same time, and I feel like Zach and I had very opposite deliveries of our coverage of 2.0. Zach was very you could literally go on Zach's channel and find out everything and how to do it and whatever. But then you could go to my channel and experience everything. So it was two very different ways.
Right.
And I think they both worked out pretty well. But the game just super busy, and now we're in a lull period again. So forever.
Do you want to talk about that first? I know that it was going to happen. We talked about it even on the last episode. We always reference it, and we knew it was going to be a thing. But I think after how fun 2.0 was and how big it was, it feels like even more of a thud that it's like, oh, it's just done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected this. Like 2.0 came out and gave us everything, literally everything we wanted. The more you play 2.0, I feel like the more cracks start showing, and there's always more that they could have done.
Right.
Like we'll probably go into this in detail, but like Cap'n, Brewster, we had high hopes for them, and they came into the game and they weren't really like what they were in New Leaf, or they didn't really have like Cap'n. Who here goes on daily Cap'n trips? There's probably going to be hundreds, but like Cap'n isn't really needed. I feel like you got the bushes on his island, you got the vines, you got certain things, but you can get gyroid fragments on your own island. There's not really a need to visit Cap'n, and like Brewster doesn't have jobs.
Do you think that, like, were we blinded by the light? Do you think that, like, the fact that they spread so much, but it was like thin? Happy Home Paradise, I think, is its own thing, because I think there's plenty of depth there. But for the base game, do you think that they, like, we did it all, but then in reality it was, like, knee deep? Do you think that we kind of overlooked that at the start?
I think so. I mean, I don't know how people feel about this. I probably should have done a poll. I have a poll going right now, but it's not about that. Yeah, do you guys like the way that they did it, where they had monthly updates, and then I feel like the pacing was a little bit off. I like how they dropped 2.0 all at once. I feel like that was smart, especially so late in the game. But
right.
Man, if we're going off of ratings, I don't want to spoil my final rating with the updates and Happy Home. But man, day one, Animal Crossing comes out. I feel like this game is a C. I feel like it's a 70. There was no holidays. There's no, Brewster. There's no Leaf even. There's no Red. So the release of the game, I think, was poor for an Animal Crossing game.
Yeah.
But with the updates, that changes. I like this. I feel like I'm in the minority here, but I like the updates. I don't know about you. Like, what if the game came out 100%?
Yeah, I mean, I love the updates. I guess the great thing about the updates for me was that it brought in, like, a central feature, and then it had some sort of sprinklings of extra things. So it was like, oh, Leaf is here, and that whole crops and whatnot. And then, oh, Pascal is here, and oh, Luna's here. And it seemed like that's what they were doing just tenfold with 2.0, but 2.0 was more just like, I guess, expanding on the content that's already there. Cap'n and Brewster were supposed to, you mentioned them, supposed to be kind of like the new central things, but they don't really have as much depth or variety as some of those other main characters that kind of did power us through months and months of gameplay. I still think it's silly, and you guys can tell me if you agree. This game is still popular. This game is still very profitable. They could make it even more popular and more profitable. Why does it have to be done? Like, there is no good reason. There's no, like, stipulation. Like, well, we hear people say, like, oh, the team's working on Splatoon. Yeah, they're also still working on a million other games. They could easily put together a small, squad to stay on this. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is getting a year and a half worth of tracks 8 years later. So there's no good reason why they stopped this. They could even charge for it. It's really one of the big conundrums of, like, why stop? I will forever be confused.
Yeah, because the game still has momentum. I feel, a lot of people are getting it for the first time, even for Christmas and things. So the momentum, I don't think ever stops. The big tell for me, and one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to end this show really, is because Festival, okay? Festival, we all had hope. I feel like there was a lot of speculation. And Festival will forever be the only holiday that didn't get a year 2 update.
Yeah. Poor Pave, man.
Poor Pave. I feel like, as a whole, I feel like the Festival event is pretty weak, just because you can get the items in Nooks, the entire, like, lead up to it. But yeah, that was the big tell for me. That was, I mean, I know Nintendo said, like, what, last major free update or something?
Yeah.
Those will forever be the words that we look at. But yeah, Festival was the big tell. It was like, if they're not going to give that a year 2 update, I don't have, like, the new thing is, oh, will they have a new anniversary item? And I just don't think that's the case. I think it's
not even a cake with a 2?
I don't think so. I mean, why would they do that and not Festival? Like,
Yeah.
unless they add something in for the anniversary. I mean, a cake, a random new cake after nothing from Festival. No, you know what the big tell was? The Animal Crossing Twitter account. Dude, they are useless. Animal Crossing Twitter is useless.
I have a bone to pick with them. We haven't had a chance to talk about this, but there was one time when they were talking about Groundhog Day and they said new items. And Isabel doesn't understand what plurality means because there's only one item for Groundhog Day. That was the most excited I've been about Animal Crossing in months, and it was just a lie. We talked a lot about, Pat, like, they're gonna do Zelda villagers. They just have to. They have them in New Leaf. It's just inevitable. You still think that, or do you think it's just we're signed, sealed, and delivered? We're done.
I feel like Zelda's not going to happen. I still have hope for Splatoon, though. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. You look at Animal Crossing, and from their perspective, not ours, but that Animal Crossing could be a good marketing tool. I mean, I don't know how many people in the chat, like, Animal Crossing New Horizons was maybe one of your first games on the Switch, or maybe your first game. You put in some Splatoon things, and then people start thinking, like, wait, what is this game? What is Splatoon? And then, so I think that's still a possibility, but I don't really see Zelda happening, especially the anniversary coming and going.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like, I mean, I don't know. What about you?
It makes so little sense because they ported over so much from New Leaf. They brought over so many elements, so to just tank on characters that you already have seems silly. But yeah, I don't know anymore. I definitely don't think it's likely. Speaking of Mario Kart, they are taking courses from Mario Kart Tour, the mobile game, and doing a little bit of like smoothing, and then boom, it's in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Why they don't adopt the same strategy with Pocket Camp, I do not understand. I can't comprehend how you can't just take those exact item sets and put them in New Horizons and have basically infinite content, but apparently they think differently. If there ever... And sorry for saying this, Pat. If there ever is a NookTalk 46, it'll be us interviewing someone from Nintendo about what the heck went on, man? Why don't you want money? Why don't you like love? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. I think the big thing is they don't have a way to sort of monetize it. Like with Mario Kart, you're essentially adding in a new DLC. So how would they add in a Pocket Camp item? Would it be through the Nook app, like the other Pocket Camp stuff? Like, I feel like something would have to be in it for them, and I just don't know how they implement it.
Why they did not think of having an in-game store for a game like this is just silly, but
yeah. We'll talk about that, Zach, because I got roasted on Twitter, man. Anyway, Eldon, thank you so much. Can you guys do another show? Maybe just about other games and random stuff in general. You are very entertaining to watch together. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Listen, nothing is planned yet. I'll be completely honest, but I feel like the biggest thing when you're a content creator is just Zach and I have all these episodes under our belt. We know we work well together. So it's not like we're ever gonna, this is it, Zach.
This is it, man. Delete from the phone, cancel you out, erase your face from my memory.
I have Zach's number.
Have you seen the show Severed yet?
I have not.
Oh man, this is my show of the year. You got to watch this. It's on Apple TV. It's fantastic. If anyone else has Apple TV or you can get a free week, it's so good. But anyways, in Severed, the concept is they sever your mind so your work self doesn't remember your out of work self, and your out of work self doesn't remember your work self. So I was just gonna make a joke that we're gonna sever so we don't remember this time. We just the part of us that hung out and did NookTalk is gone.
It is gone. I want to get to this. I have a poll going right now, but I made a tweet, okay? And I feel like it was received sort of well, but
I was surprised to see this tweet, not because I disagree, but just because typically people don't like say that. It's just like another thing people say. And I'm not saying it was wrong because like I think it's smart, but I was like, oh, Pat's feeling his oats today.
I was. I had to mute it because it was getting out of hand. Okay, I said, unpopular opinion. I should have elaborated on this. Unpopular opinion, but I hope Nintendo monetizes the crap out of the next Animal Crossing game.
Yeah.
Item sets, costumes, villagers, the works. As long as the base game isn't affected, then I'm all for it. This is a design game now, and letting the game die early sucks.
Yeah.
So I should have elaborated. Listen, I don't want this game to become Pocket Camp. I don't want every little thing to be monetized and bought, but I feel like it's a different game now, Zach. So maybe we can implement something sort of like seasons or item sets or something.
Yeah,
What do you think?
online games is the way that games go. I mean, every major game outside of a lot of Nintendo stuff has a plan to prolong for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, games that most of you probably aren't interested in, like Destiny 2, just had a massive update, and that keeps that game going for years. Obviously, Fortnite just is a train that never stops rolling. Animal Crossing could be that vehicle for Nintendo, and they started off on that path. They just didn't finish. So I absolutely, while I understand the hesitance, like, oh, we don't want to pay a bunch, we don't want this game to cost us $150, I really think Nintendo has to make the next one have longevity beyond the design community. And no slight to the design aspects of this game, they're fantastic, but there's no reason why you can't have both. It's not either or. We could absolutely have this be design centric and still have content. Season passes are very popular and very easy, and I'm sure Nintendo could convince you to spend $10 to $15 a year to partake in something like that. Like it's ripe for it, it's ready for it, and I agree. I hope the next one does have a plan to prolong. Last thing I'll say on that, and I know I'm running a little long here, is like I think Animal Crossing worked better years ago when like the internet wasn't as wild as it is now. Like, oh, it's Halloween, let's go play. I feel like that just isn't as cute anymore. And I'm not saying the items or the characters, but like it's not as novel of an idea of like I remember getting Animal Crossing on N64. No, GameCube, sorry. GameCube. And being like, wow, like it's matched up with real life, like it's spring, and that was so cool. And that just I don't think that's enough anymore. I think there needs to be extra content. I don't think players are excited to do the same thing every year, every month. Like I don't think we're in a new era. It's a different kind of gaming industry right now.
No, I agree. And so a lot of that was like, why should they add things every month or every whatever? Zach, you've covered this before. The Pocket Camp little promos, okay, every single month. There's like 40 items on there. And I know it's a monetized thing, but this is a design game. This is an Animal Crossing hybrid now. It is a design game, and that will be the longevity of this. What if you had some free items a month, but then like
premium,
a paid $1.99, or even with the Nintendo Switch, like what is it, expansion pass?
Right.
Maybe have like a design pass or something, where if you have that expansion, you'll get something in your mail every month, and like something like that, because the game doesn't last long post no updates, I feel, or the general interest in people covering it and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating. I feel like they can easily do it. And I feel like they've found their niche. Like you said, the base Animal Crossing isn't enough, but they've introduced terraforming, waterscaping, design. I think Happy Home was a huge hit. I think everyone loved that. So,
well, and you can easily have both. You see games that are able to manage both, right? You can have Animal Crossing as it is. We're not saying charge every time you throw out your net, charge every time you craft a piece of bait. We're saying have the game, but then also have ways that it can extend. So if you're not a brand new player, if you're not just content doing the same thing, if you do want this to be your kind of like everything game, that is an option. And there's a way for you to invest back in something that has given you so much joy and so much fun. You can have it both. It's not an either or.
So let's get into our retrospective of this game.
And the show. And the show.
And the show. Yeah, we'll end it with the show. I want to give a review of this game. Like, I want to go through this game and come up with a review score. Like I said, my fresh Animal Crossing that we got on launch day, I feel like was a 70. I'm going to go 70.
I think that's pretty generous, because at that point you had like nothing.
Guys, imagine if an Animal Crossing game released with no holidays, with no dream suites, with no NPCs, really. I mean, yeah, 70 is probably generous. But, I mean, even the base game, that was like, what, 40, 50 hours? Like, to do the story quest?
Sure.
I don't know. For you, like, when you start talking about New Horizons and you first start playing it, like, what stood out to you? And what'd you like about it initially?
I mean, for me, this was my first like deep foray into Animal Crossing outside of just, like dabbling. So it was really fun to find out how you could explore, how you could craft, how you could acquire villagers. And obviously that's all tinted with the New Horizons colored glasses, because there were all these new systems and they were some of the best systems that had been ever introduced in the franchise. I think the first, whatever you want to say, the first 20 hours are the best Animal Crossing hours. Obviously, you don't have the design shops, you don't have a complete item set, you aren't able to handpick your favorite villagers, but the sense of wonder that started off for me was my absolute favorite part. Like, having something different, new, fresh, fun happening all the time was awesome. And I think that's why the updates mean so much to me, because I'm not a repetitious person. I'm not someone that enjoys a lot of routine. So I love just like, oh my gosh, the museum is here. Oh my gosh, Nook's Cranny is open. Like, that stuff was so exciting. And I wish there was a way that level of wonder could continue beyond your first month, beyond your first, 100 hours. The updates and the items are great, but finding a way, via a big city or via a whole world to provide those moments, I think would just, enhance the game exponentially.
Yeah, my first impression of this game was the different sort of take it had. Like, normally when you start Animal Crossing games, it's always like, oh, go to Nook's Cranny, learn how to craft, or learn how to use tools and plant flowers and things. This one was different because you were sort of building up this island, and I really liked the story element of it. And I think looking back, it kind of ended too soon. Like, I feel like once we got KK, there was more that they could have done, I feel. But I mean, listen, the game graphically, I think is pretty impressive for the Switch. The soundtrack, not my favorite of the Animal Crossing games, but there's definitely it's weird. There's like a nostalgia to it now. But I like the story progression. I will say that if anyone else has played other Animal Crossing games, I don't know what you guys think, but the villager writing wasn't as spicy. I feel like they fixed it a little bit, but it was very just like, we're friends.
They toned it down.
Everything is good. Yeah, it tones it down a little bit. But I think the crafting, we all joke about like the bulk crafting. I think the crafting was genius.
Yeah.
The terraforming was genius. Waterscaping was genius. I'm really surprised looking back at it that they didn't improve any of those three. Isn't that weird to you? Like,
all the quality life stuff we wanted so much never panned out. And we talked about this early on, where it was like, Nintendo sometimes chooses things, and the Pokemon franchise is an example, and the Animal Crossing franchise is an example, where they want it to take you time. The tedium is part of the appeal. And yeah, it's funny that those things that day one people were like, okay, the Dodo Airlines chat, like it's got to speed up. Like it never did. Like, that's just what we had the whole way through.
Yep. And I don't know. I feel like I forgot who mentioned this, but it was like a few episodes ago. Like, maybe bulk crafting is the big gimmick of the next game, and like, the genius idea of like people all going in the plane together and then going to someone's island. Maybe that's the big gimmick of the next game. And like, I don't know about you, but I feel like they can't go away from this now. Terraforming and waterscaping. This has to be Animal Crossing.
And a parallel I'll draw, and it's weird to me because you'd think it would just be an easier transition. But if we look at like Pokemon Sword and Shield as the Pokemon Company's first foray onto Switch, it really was just like, oh, it's a bit fine-tuned version of the handheld game. Now we have Pokemon Legends Arceus, and we see Scarlet and Violet are really expansive, and it feels like, okay, now this is the Switch version of Pokemon. I wonder if that'll be the case for Animal Crossing. If the Switch does get extended by a Switch Pro or a Super Switch or whatever people talk about, and we do get another Animal Crossing, I wonder if we'll look back and say like, yeah, New Horizons, that was really New Leaf 2, and whatever comes next is really like, this is it. Like you were saying, like it has a big focus on multiplayer. You can't just travel all over with everybody. Like it really finds, the development team figures out like, oh, this is how you make a home console game. We have so much more power, so much more space. We can actually do a lot more. And I mean, that's the dream, right? But
yeah,
based on Nintendo's other teams, like I think that's a plausible reality for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I mean, will they even keep the next game like this? Will it be in more of an open format where there's no loading screens to do that? I wouldn't be surprised that. What's that?
I hope. I mean,
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if crafting got an upgrade for the next game. If even villager hunts, I feel like villager hunts. If we interviewed Nintendo's team, I feel like they would have been like, "What the heck? We didn't anticipate that at all." But villager hunts were so huge, and I feel like the next game, you have to improve upon that. I mean, you have to keep that in.
Yeah.
So
I hope it gets a major leap forward. I would be bummed if it was like New Horizons 2 and there's like, Celeste runs the museum this time. Like, I really think they need to make an evolutionary step because, yes, there were evolutions, but at the same time, New Leaf and New Horizons they're using a lot of the same stuff. They're using a lot of the same content, and I would love to see them break from that and do something a little bit more bold.
yeah. So you had the base game. Everyone was still learning, what to do, and certain people put out design videos, and they were really cool, I'm assuming. But then the updates started happening. I feel like from this point on, for at least the first year, it was super exciting every single month because it was monthly, and there were trailers and everything like that. Looking back on it, I mean, Nintendo does this with especially the Mario sports games where every month you get a new character, maybe a new mode or something. Do you think that this had to be planned? This wasn't because of the pandemic. Maybe the later ones were pandemic related, but do you think they had, okay, we'll do a year of updates? Do you think that was always in the cards? Or?
Yeah, I think they probably had a basic outline planned of, here's how we're going to roll out the content. Here's what pairs nicely with, this month and this character and this holiday. I'm sure that they had it that way. It was their first time that they were doing it in that style. So, maybe it wasn't completely set in stone, but that's kind of what I'm talking about as well. Like, as normal as it is for other companies, like, this is Nintendo's first time doing like a game that evolves as it goes. So I think they need to try on the training wheels and figure it out. And now maybe they're off and they can kind of go a little wild. But yeah, I think it was planned and it was so fun. The trailers in particular, I didn't realize how much of that was like the fun. Like, obviously playing the update was great, but the trailer itself, like getting that moment, it was like a, micro direct every month or so. And like, that was to see what was new, see what was going to be there. Those moments of joy were some of the best.
Yeah. Even like I think the first Festival trailer was like less than a minute, but it was still so exciting seeing
52 seconds.
But like, adding in Leaf, I remember Leaf was a huge addition, and Red and Pascal, and like some people here may have been like, wait, they added that in? Like, yeah, they added that in. They added in Dream Suites and things like that. And I think Dream Suites probably was one of my favorite updates. I feel like Dream Suites.
Those summer updates were great.
Oh, they were great. And, they added in diving, and like, it was just so exciting seeing the game evolve more and more. Out of the updates, which one was, besides 2.0, which one was your favorite?
I think that's the easy one. Honestly, I really love the Earth Day update, the Leaf and Red update, because at that point it was still kind of continuing that more story-based element that you were talking about. Like, Red would show up and, Plaza NPCs and new NPCs were still very fresh. And so it was like, oh my gosh, like this guy pulls up, there's a secret beach. How do you get him? Leaf is here. Like, just, it felt so exotic. Like, oh my God, your game's changing. These characters are arriving on your island. And I think, like I mentioned, just those moments of like, where could this go? How far is it going to get? Like, was very cool. Plus at that time, if you recall, we were starting to see like the first data mines, and we were like, oh wow, they actually have a lot planned for this game. It's not just what it is. Like, there's going to be some big stuff. People were already talking about Dream Suites and museum upgrades. And I don't know. For as much as the game is great, the conversation around the game, for me, may have been even better. Like, I just love that aspect of it. Obviously popular games get conversation. Like Elden Ring right now is all over and people are talking all about it. But there was something just so inherently pure about the Animal Crossing conversation. It's got to be the first major update.
It was like fireworks are coming and like so like wholesome stuff. Mm-hmm. I remember Leaf being huge because that introduced hedges and bushes. So like everyone's island was changing, and the one that I really, really liked was diving because listen, you're on this island and you're just looking at this water, okay? And then diving comes and you can actually go in there and like dive for fish, and that opened up a whole nother page in your Critterpedia. So for me, diving was like one of the most memorable. And then we get into holidays. Daddy Jack came with a vengeance, Zach. Daddy Jack, Halloween, everyone. What is your favorite holiday in this game? Because if it's not Halloween, well, I could see other holidays, but I think Halloween did it right. We got pumpkins. It felt like another sort of design, evolution. So
My
yeah,
favorite holiday. It's the black sheep of the holidays.
your favorite is Bunny Day.
It is.
You are crazy.
It modifies the game. It's the only one that really goes to town. And I have to wonder if the negative reception of that maybe scaled back some of their future plans. I don't know for sure, but this was a conversion of the game. They had eggs in the water, eggs in the sky. They were doing all sorts of stuff, and people freaked out. And I wonder if we freaked out a little too fast, and Papa Nintendo was like, oh, we were going to have you find pumpkins in the trees, and now we're not going to do that. We are going to have you, like... Because it's the only... It's so odd that it's the only holiday that really does make a gameplay difference.
Yeah, I mean, they needed to scale it down. I mean, the game was unplayable. It literally was unplayable. And, like, I think it was so unplayable because we were all starting out. So it's like, man, I need 30 iron, but I have 30 eggs. Like, so it was really bad.
It was just because it was like a timing thing. Bunny Day, if it was like in December, we would have been totally cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like Toy Day was a little underwhelming, if I'm going to be honest. Like, there wasn't a whole lot to it. And one of the things that I remember from the past games is that you would have to find out everyone's like favorite or what they wanted or something. So they kind of scaled that back. But that's an interesting point. I mean, I don't know how much it would have affected like that whole Bunny Day thing.
One thing we talked about time and time again was like, man, the actual holiday event, like the thing you do is so reduced and so short-lived that they seem to kind of just shoot in different directions. Like Bunny Day is like overboard. Toy Day maybe is underboard. They do creative things like the May Day Museum, which is awesome. Then they never really touch on that again. And I don't know. I just wish some of those holidays, Turkey Day and Toy Day, would have seen expansions of their thing instead of reductions from New Leaf. That's where we can, start saying, okay, maybe this is where the pandemic maybe did play a role because they didn't have as much time or as much, manpower to get a more complicated thing complete.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I liked Turkey Day. Museum Day was horrendous. That has to go.
Museum Day.
The fireworks were pretty cool. I just hope they expand more on their ideas. And yeah, it's kind of weird if we think about it. There was never another groundbreaking design thing similar to like on the scale of terraforming or waterscaping.
Right.
And they never really brought that over. There was never any new paths. Like that's crazy to me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and now we're going further. And then I actually want to talk about this. We brushed on it a little bit, but let's take this for example. If 2.0 was spread out, what do you think the landscape of this game would be right now? Like,
I mean, we'd still be awaiting updates, so that would be fun.
Would we still? I mean,
I think
it
so.
Started, like summer probably would have been capping.
Oh, you're saying if there was no drought? Okay, yeah.
If there was no drought, I mean, Brewster probably would have been fall.
Right.
Happy Home could have even been like right now. Yeah. Imagine Happy Home like right now. So it was good that they added it all in, and there's been arguments like, oh, they just wanted to get this game over with. There's no way that happened. But it's interesting to think like if they spread all that out, like maybe, like Cap'n would have introduced like the vines and the glowing furniture and stuff, and then, the ceiling things and villagers coming over to like play with you and things like that. I kind of wish they spread that out. It's tough. It's a tough call though because releasing it all such a big impact and everyone went crazy, and I feel like a lot of people, that was maybe the selling point on the DLC. Maybe they feel like they needed a selling point.
Well, and I think in hindsight, like one of the fun things about the updates was you kind of obsessed over whatever the new feature was. Even if it wasn't your favorite feature, you obsessed over it because that's what you had. That was the new hotness. So when they drop everything at once, you can kind of pick and choose, which is fun. But then maybe you're leaving out some things that would have got more playtime. So like you said, like, oh, if Vines and Cap'n drop, maybe we would have spent more time with Cap'n. We would have spent more time with those elements. And then Brewster later and, Harv's Island later, they could have, I guess, increased our time and added longevity. But I think there was clearly an audience like, hey, better release something. It's been a long time. And then also they did want to get Happy Home out for the expansion pack and probably for the holidays. They wanted to get Animal Crossing refreshed for the holidays, sell a bunch of copies, and you know they did. They've sold a ton of copies of this game. I think, you know, hindsight's always 20/20, but both ways have their perks and both ways have their problems.
So are we blaming the expansion pass for our Animal Crossing dying or what?
No, we're 100% blaming Nintendo. Again, look, there's no obligation. They made a great game. It's well worth the $60. I just don't understand when you have, like we've said, you have a community that's huge and excited and still hungry, why you don't feed that. But I'm trying to think of another game that is this culturally massive that doesn't continue like that. Because we're talking about stuff at the level of, you know, World of Warcraft, or we're talking about stuff at the level of you know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I mean, I don't want to give anybody false hope, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did get DLC 8 years later. So, I mean, if you don't hear a new Animal Crossing, you know, 2023, 2024, 2025, maybe, you never know. Sky's apparently the limit.
We'll talk about that. I think if I had to, I don't know, 2.0 like revived and killed the game all in one swoop. Like, man, I don't think there's any, like, the drought, guys, the drought that we had in 2021 for this game, like what, from March to November?
I mean, they had a few things, but yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah, they had
the blog posts and stuff.
They had like the firework with boba and stuff. So I think like summer to November was pretty dead. Man, if things were different and they spaced those things out, I feel like we're still going. The community is still going, and I don't necessarily think they needed a 2.0 to sell Happy Home. I feel like Happy Home, man, if we're that's like A+ to me. I feel like that was such a good addition. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we probably would have been getting like Happy Home like right now.
Yeah.
So weird stuff. So okay, so a lot of people are, you know, I've been seeing in the chat like, wait, is this game done? Why are they talking like this game done? Is there any possibilities? I mean, there always is, but realistically, what could be left, if any? I mean, I feel like we're done.
I feel like they're done. Like you said, the festival was kind of like a big sad point. I mean, there was that data mine that showed that like Nintendo had listed certain elements of a patch as 2.1 as like winter update. That never materialized. Winter is just about over. The anniversary is coming, but I think I mean, I'm an optimist, but I think it's a very low percentage. They specifically told us we're done, so there doesn't seem to be a lot of reason to go back on that. And after some events have passed without any, you know, fanfare, I think it's over. And like, that's not bad. It doesn't mean the game is over, but at the same time, like, games do end. Animal Crossing is a rare game that doesn't have like an end point, so sure, you can play it forever. But I feel like a lot of people, like, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but like, is it okay to put Animal Crossing down? Is it okay to be? And I don't want to say you have to, but like, games do end.
Yeah, it's bittersweet too, because like this was and like you said, maybe the conversation of the game is in a way more exciting and more enjoyable, because this right now is what everyone wanted day one. This is whatever we have, the Animal Crossing game with Happy Home, with all the 2.0 features. This is what we all should want. So it's like, now we could start playing the game like we wanted. But yeah, like you said, it's a game that never really ends. Like, technically, you could still be playing the first Animal Crossing game right now because it runs on that real world clock. So yeah, it's just a little bit weird because I feel like such high momentum and then seemingly it's over. I mean, if I'm going to give you anything, like, I feel like Splatoon Zelda crossover would be the last possible thing, but that would be such like out of left field. That'd be such out of left field. And that is technically well, here's the thing. They said last free update, you need an amiibo for those.
Yeah. So they could drop. Yeah. At that point, it's not even really, I guess it's an update, but it's more just like, hey, like the Sanrio stuff. Like, here are some cards. If you buy them, you get stuff.
Yeah.
They could do it. It's just we're adding on months, right? We're now at what, 5 months since the update. So by the anniversary it'll be 6.
Yep.
E3, summer season will be 9. I don't know.
So we talk about like this game is done. Okay, so this is like the final version of Animal Crossing. Listen, there'll probably be like, if I had to guess, maybe like 5 or 6 more bug patches and
Yeah,
bug
they've been
fixes
really
to
up to
add
date with
things.
that.
Yeah, which is good. What do you think this game is missing in terms of like if they did more updates or if you had to add more things? Like, what do you think is lacking?
I mean, it's hard because they have added so much, and for the game that they were trying to create, I think they did. I think they reached a perfect or a near perfect version of what they were trying to create. We can talk about our final score when you give the okay, but the things that I would want them to improve maybe just aren't for this game. We've constantly said mini games and multiplayer, more things that you can do together, more things you can play. It's hard to go play big popular games on other systems and then come back and say Animal Crossing and see that it really has not evolved a whole lot. Like, yes, terraforming is big, but I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West and we got dinosaurs terraforming the entire world. Like, that's just
Yeah.
one enemy. So like I guess it's just not possible with New Horizons, but I do have hope that an Animal Crossing does decide to really push things in the way that like Breath of the Wild pushed things for Zelda. But I'd say like if there was something for this game, it's still that multiplayer island you always talked about, Pat. Like we just don't. There's not much in that area in this game whatsoever.
To me, that's a glaring weakness. I agree. I think it's multiplayer. I think this game will end without ever getting a multiplayer update. And it's so weird because I remember early Nintendo Treehouses and the first time that they even talked about this game, the big thing was 8 people are on your island. And even
Yeah.
in the first trailer, there was like a whole group of people. And I remember I was like, oh my God, that is going to create the best mini games. And it just never happened. And I feel like
Nothing.
that's a big shame. I mean, the multiplayer in this game, I think is an F. I really do. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. You can go to like friends' houses and
And what you do has so many caveats, right? Slow loading. It freezes your game, like it disconnects, like overload. It is not up to par for the year we're in and for what other games are accomplishing. Yeah, F sounds really harsh, but I can't argue with it.
I mean, like, what realistically can we do? We can go to people's islands. We can walk around. We
And
can't
there's
even
limits, yeah.
we can't even place items. We can't terraform with people on our island. Like it's so limited. I feel like maybe F's a little, maybe D is I think where we're at. Yeah, Nicole. I mean, like we do like little stream games and things like that. People have been very creative, like Crunchy Island.
Right.
Uh,
You know,
but that's like fan made.
Right, that's such an interesting point because like so much of the most fun stuff for multiplayer came from not Nintendo but from people having to generate their own. And on one hand, you could say, well, that's great because this game allows for that. And on the other hand, you could say that's poop because we have to make our own fun. Like we paid $60 and we have to generate it ourselves.
Yeah.
When you look back at all that stuff, crunchy races and mini games, do you think that's, for a while we talked about that as like one of our favorite parts, the standout element. Do you think in 5 years you'll remember New Horizons for all that stuff? Or now that time has passed, do you think that stuff is kind of old and kind of, it's going to be left behind?
I think New Horizons will be remembered sort of like Arceus or like maybe even Sword and Shield, honestly. Like you said, it's kind of like the blueprint of like what's to come. At least that's my hope anyway. Like I really think
Fingers
that,
very crossed.
yeah, I feel like New Horizons will be remembered as one of the greatest Animal Crossing games because of the ideas that it introduced. But yeah, multiplayer needs to change. It needs to get better. Villager hunts are iconic. They're addicting. They're amazing. The design community, I feel like was born in New Horizons. Like there was
Absolutely.
patterns in New Leaf, but
Right.
Now you have to cater to that audience too, not just the life sim or whatever.
Right.
So I want to switch over to the future, okay, and the next Animal Crossing game because there's been a lot of people in the chat, a lot of people, everywhere is are they saying that there's never going to be an Animal Crossing game? Zach, I don't know what I'll do, but there will be another Animal Crossing game.
Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah.
There absolutely will be. Will it be on the Switch? Will it be on the next system? Will it be a spin-off? That is a lot harder to determine, but yeah, you don't sell 40 million copies and then call it quits.
Yeah, so there's definitely going to be another one. Zach or I, we're not saying that there won't be. I have a little poll over on my stream, and I said, when do you think the next Animal Crossing will be?
Mm-hmm.
I should have said like side game or main game, whatever.
Yeah.
And the most popular answer is both 2024 and 2025 with 31%. 2026 or longer has 27%. And then next year, Zach, 11%. So, okay, let's just back up a little bit. Nintendo said that we're halfway through the Switch's life right now. So that's 5 years. Do you think in any universe, Animal Crossing doesn't show up within the next 5 years? Listen, they'll be added to like future game, like Mario Kart games and like different nods to Animal Crossing, like WarioWare and things like that. But as far as like a side game or even a main game, there's one console now, Zach. There's not a handheld and a home console. What do you think?
I wish Nintendo would take more of a Pokemon philosophy with Animal Crossing. Pokemon, they pop them out like they're rabbits, right? I was telling you, we've had we'll have, 6 major Pokemon games in 18 months? That's just absurd. That's insane. Yeah. And Animal Crossing has primarily been a one per generation title. And I would love to see Nintendo move more in the Pokemon direction with this game. I think there's plenty of an audience and plenty of fervor and plenty of money waiting to be spent to have an Animal Crossing every couple of years. However, I do think if I had to bet that there will not be another main Animal Crossing game until the next console. And I'm not talking about a Switch Pro. I'm saying like the next Switch. I think we will get a spin-off Animal Crossing something before, you were talking about like halfway through, before like 10 years is over. But if I had to bet, I know it's not a fun answer, unless Nintendo has a philosophy change behind the scenes, I don't think the next like New Horizons level game will happen until 26, 27, whenever they have, the actual success, like the next system you need to go spend your money on, otherwise you can't play.
Wow. So you're not only crying about the last NookTalk, but you're crying that you have to wait till 2026. It's interesting because we have one console now. I think if I was behind the scenes and I was making decisions on Animal Crossing, not even just like as a super fan, I feel like you should put out another big expansion of New Horizons. And then, like you said, the next mainline game comes out with the next Switch.
Yeah.
So, Zach, the next Switch is going to launch with Animal Crossing, Metroid Prime,
Mario Kart,
and Mario Kart 9. I don't know. Maybe a spin-off game, like 5 years without your most popular game besides Mario Kart. Your most popular game, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I think there's going to be some sort of spin-off or something. Maybe a mobile game. I know people don't want to hear that, but like maybe a mobile game or something like that. Pocket Camp is pretty old.
Yeah, and with kind of like with Happy Home Paradise out there now, they've basically like tapped the design side of it. So you can't spin off and do Happy, like that's just not a thing you can do. So if they were to do a spin-off, it's like Amiibo Festival, do you try your hand at that again, or do they do something dramatically different? And it would be interesting to brainstorm, like, what could they do that's not design related? Like you were talking about, villager hunts are some of the best part of the game. Multiplayer, maybe a multiplayer only or multiplayer focused Animal Crossing game is where they go, because they didn't incorporate that very much in the New Horizons. It's not covered by Happy Home Paradise. That is something that I think could be a fun time if you found a way to, I guess it would be Amiibo Festival too, but more of a minigame island, a bunch of cool mini games, a bunch of prizes to win, have some connectivity with Animal Crossing New Horizons even. That could be a nice route.
Yeah. Like, I mean, just the thought of nothing until the next console. I mean, mainline, I get it, but there has to be something, right?
I hope so.
I think it would be crazy not to. And listen, I don't want Animal Crossing to become Pokemon. I don't want it to become like Call of Duty where we're getting one every single year.
Wait. You don't. You really don't. If they said, hey, we can put out a new Animal Crossing every year, every 2 years, like Pokemon, I need to make this a poll. Would you be down for that? Or do you think Animal Crossing is special because it is so...
I think it needs to be at least 3 years.
Okay.
I feel like it needs to be... guys, imagine a Animal Crossing game that releases yearly or 2 years. It would just feel too samey. Like, the beauty, I think, of Animal Crossing is looking from Wild Worlds, which I don't like at all, to City Folk, to New Leaf, to New Horizons, and seeing like giant leaps. We're seeing giant leaps. Like, play New Leaf and play New Horizons. Even like the inventory, like the terraforming, it makes it so that it's a new game. Yearly, I feel like you can't do that. I feel like you're overlapping. So, I mean, Zach, I would love it as a content creator.
We would just have
dive head first.
NookTalk is back, baby. Yeah.
I think 3 years, man. I think like, but listen, do you count it from 2020 or do you count it from Happy Home? Like, when does the counter start, Zach?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the only way it would work for me is like, okay, I mean, you know how Pokemon is like a different region and a different theme every time? If they were able to do that. So now it's like Animal Crossing on the moon, Animal Crossing in, you know, the desert. And I know we have different climates and environments within Animal Crossing New Horizons, but if they were able to sort of like fully theme this out in the way that like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have a new generation of Pokemon, you have a new generation of villagers, same game, different items, different NPCs. You can't convince me that wouldn't be a ton of fun. I it's never going to happen, but I would personally love that every 2 years.
And I mean, honestly, if there was a franchise that Nintendo has, I feel like that would be the one. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at Pokemon now, and it's crazy to say because I remember when Pokemon first came out, but we're crossing 1,000 total Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Imagine, you know, even if they released another Animal Crossing with 40 new villagers, like that would be, you know, a game changer. So I could see it being more frequent, but I don't know. 3 years, I feel like, is bare minimum.
I'm seeing a lot of people say like they want to have it, you know, be special and have it wait and continue to play it. I don't know. I just think that Animal Crossing's reliance on the calendar is going to become less and less of a feature as time goes on. I don't think it's as exciting as it was when before you're like, oh my God, in my game it's snowing and outside it's snowing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that element that previously was Animal Crossing's calling card, like, if the next Animal Crossing is the same game and we're just excited for Bunny Day again and we're excited for Festival again, I mean, maybe that's the route they go, but I would personally be a little bummed and burned out. Like, I don't want to wait 5 years just to do it. I mean, that's a good question for you, Pat. You're talking about waiting longer. Do you want to wait 5 years just to do it all again? Build up Nook's Cranny, build up your item arsenal. Like, with how this game went and how many items we now have, how many NPCs, do you want to just do it again?
There has to be something different. Mm. I mean, that's why New Horizons, you know, started off with a really good idea of like, hey, it's a deserted island. Let's build this up.
Yeah.
Let's attract villagers here. Like, that was all new, and I thought that was going to expand more. But no, I don't want to do that again. Yeah. I don't want to be on a deserted island again. I want to be like in a town. Or my dream for the next Animal Crossing game is a clean slate, but like, you know, not deserted. I want to be able to customize every bit of the next Animal Crossing game, where if you come to my island, my Nook's Cranny looks different from yours, mm-hmm. or my Abel's looks different from yours, or maybe I have Brewster in my town and Brewster's not in yours. Like, I don't know, just like very custom. I feel like you think of the next Animal Crossing, where do you think they go with it? I feel like customization is pretty much there.
I'd love to see a camera angle change. I'd love to see it go more third person, you know, more of an expanded world. I'd like to, I know right now so much is like, oh, it's this little like terrarium and we get to play in it. But I would love to see them, I want to look straight in the eyes of KK Slider. I think that'd be really, I think that would be a very moody experience.
And I think you're right about them being less reliant on the calendar, because if you look back at 2.0, I mean, look at what they added. They added in Harv's Island, which adds all the NPCs where you can go anytime. And they also added in Cap'n, which it could be any sort of season on his. So it almost said like, hey, you don't need to time travel anymore. Time doesn't matter.
Right.
So I think you're kind of spot on there. Besides the funky camera angles and things like that, what are you expecting, or what are you hoping for the next game?
Expecting or hoping, very different.
A little of both.
I think there is a 50-50 shot they like do the exact same thing. And I don't mean like on an island. I just mean like, well, here we go. You got to collect the resources and they'll have some new feature, but I really hope that it is a substantial difference. We've both now talked about like, for as great as New Horizons is, my biggest wish is that we look back at New Horizons and say that wasn't the pinnacle of the franchise. It was a great moment in time. It really did a lot for society and where it was at with the pandemic. But yeah, it was just a stepping stone to Animal Crossing's true evolution. Nintendo loves these franchises that do it time and time again, but they did do 2.0 against all odds. So I would just love to see them say, hey, this one functions differently. It's, you take on a different role. You've always kind of been the mayor of the town. Maybe it's more quest focused. Maybe you're going from town to town and you're solving more. Hey, KK needs you to build him. It's incorporating like Happy Home with Animal Crossing. KK needs you to build up a huge concert hall, and then you have to go to somebody else's area to do this, and it's more structured while still having the customization that you talked about. I don't know. I think the scope of the game needs to expand. I know they try to take it there with visiting other people's islands, but I don't know. Yeah. I know it's different, but you look at what some of these other games are doing from other companies, and it's like, man, games are getting huge. Animal Crossing is perfect for expanding. It's perfect for getting bigger.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel. I feel like this game did feel very empty, even with Harv's Island, expanding and all the NPCs coming in. It did feel really empty. And I feel like if I could change one thing about the 2.0 update, I definitely would have made Harv's Island like more quest focused, where it could be like a full town, and maybe you could like start terraforming and explore the island and stuff. Madison just said virtual reality. I would puke everywhere. Imagine seeing truffles in VR. Absolutely not. But yeah, it just felt empty. I want a town back. I mean, New Leaf had it. City Folk had it. I want a town back. But yeah, next game, I want to do weird stuff. I want to turn buildings to the sides. Like, I want to do just weird things.
Well, and Happy Home, I'm not saying that everything they did is a window into the future, but Happy Home's Archipelago is interesting because it's a bunch of different environments tied together. And what if that's the route they go? What if they do have a bigger landmass or a bigger area, and you can kind of like, oh, there's a really rocky mountain that you can go terraform over here, or there's a water area over here, and you can kind of tailor make different parts of the map to fit the different areas. I just think I don't want to be sitting here in 2026, Pat. We're going to be like 60 years old, and we're sitting here saying like, well, we've got 3 major buildings. It's Nook's Cranny, it's the Roost inside the museum, and it's Able Sisters. Like, it's got to be bigger than that.
I can't wait for... You know what? I'm so excited about the next Animal Crossing game because it's going to launch with like nothing, and everyone's going to freak out. But they're going to do the update thing again, but that's going to be so funny. Lily said, what if Nintendo did an underwater city style for Animal Crossing? I know it's 99.9%. It will never happen, but I think it'll be interesting. I don't know about a city, but they could definitely expand diving. Yeah. I mean, I thought this game actually would, when you dive, it would go underwater. Like you would see underwater and stuff. I think that's a good sort of thing there. Kara said, I would love to be able to swap to play as an NPC, like play as Celeste and run the observatory and make money. That'd be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, I think how like life sim they go, how designed they go, what is the focus for the next game will be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Happy Home and like you were able to customize the outside of like the hospital, and you're able to essentially build shops and things. That would be an amazing gimmick for the next game, because I feel like you do need a gimmick for the next game. I mean, every single game basically had that. You know, City Folk with the city, and well, the first game didn't need one, but New Leaf even had a gimmick with like Harv's like campground and stuff like that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think customization is gonna be the way to go, and crafting. I think crafting has to stay. I would love to see like a new way to get things like mining or something,
Yeah,
like
mining
getting,
would be great.
you know, like different ores and things, and like smelting them, like the whole thing, man. I want like in-depth, because right now I'm actually playing like Story of Seasons, and you got to do everything. You got to like, you know, milk the cows. Well, we're not milking villagers, but you got to like shear the sheep, and you know, it's much more involved than what we have now. But
Yeah. One more thing I think that they'll capitalize on is look how many brands and how many crossovers happened outside of Nintendo, right? Like, you know, oh, Gucci made an island, and oh, the Detroit Lions did this. I think Nintendo will recognize that and own a lot more of the partnerships. I'm not saying they're going to work with Gucci, but I think we'll see a much bigger focus on their own properties and maybe even external properties. Right now, Nintendo is really branching out on the business side of things, right? They're launching a Mario movie this year. Chris Pratt is the voice of Mario. They've got a theme park. I think we'll see the brand collaboration side be in-house, and I hope that is a one exciting part that they can use to increase longevity. It's like, oh, you know, the Kraft macaroni and cheese dinosaur is coming to your island to bring you all sorts of orange items. I think they will not let that, like, it's a business opportunity, and I don't think they'll just let these other companies reap the rewards. I think they'll want to do some of that themselves.
yeah, like I mean, I wanted more things like Sanrio, and you know, we had like 7-Eleven and New Leaf. Like this could be the game to do that.
They had Mercedes and Mario Kart. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that.
Yeah,
Amber says, I want Chris Pratt as a villager. There you go. Now that is that. I wonder if villagers also will become more dynamic. We've seen how Mii's have evolved in Nintendo Switch Sports, and I wonder if, I know the villager look is beloved, and I know it's been the look forever, but I wonder if they will sort of step that game up as well. You know, we're seeing like the Pokemon trainers, they have like normal human eyes this time instead of like the big giant eyes, and maybe they will go a little more realistic with the villagers.
I mean, I think textures like should be improving, like fur and stuff like that. They even sound really different from New Leaf. I like the way that they sound now. I think they sound like a lot cuter. My biggest thing with the villagers is the dialogue. I feel like the dialogue was pretty weak in this game. Like there wasn't really, like, you have a cranky villager, but like they weren't really cranky. You could win them over pretty quickly.
You want the sass back. You want them to put the sass back in AC.
I want the sass back. I like things like the villager photo. I think that was cool to have like sort of a end goal with, you know, with friendship. I kind of want more of that. Maybe in the next game, if you befriend a villager long enough, they'll move in with you, or like you can make a room for them.
There you go.
All right. In the chat, in both chats, I want you guys out of 100 to give your final review score for Animal Crossing New Horizons. Okay. So keep in mind, this is post 2.0. This is all the updates, the base game, everything included. Out of 100, give me a score.
So we don't have to pick like 6, 7, 8. We can pick 44.
Yep. Oh God. Okay.
Is that
out of 100?
Yeah. Okay. You're saying, "Oh God," to my 44. You didn't like that?
Yeah. There are some very interesting opinions in this chat right now. I've seen as low as like 60 something. What? There's no way. 70, 60? Interesting.
So I guess I'm confused because, and Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, but like now, as it is now, New Horizons does, like, what doesn't it do that past games would have done to earn like a 60?
I don't get that. I think that's a really low score.
Okay.
I think that when you start talking about the negatives of this game, because listen, I think this is the best Animal Crossing game, and I'm probably in the minority because there's a whole New Leaf crowd and even the original. I think this is the best Animal Crossing game because I can't spend 1,600 hours in any other Animal Crossing game. I mean, the terraforming alone, I think it's fantastic. Where you start to kind of get into the negatives is just the clunkiness of the game.
Yeah.
Crafting is really, really far behind. I'm hoping that improves. The whole villager hunt thing, I don't know if that was intended. Like, I don't know what was intended there for us to just see the first villager and take that villager. Like, I don't know what the intention was there. Multiplayer is lacking.
Yeah.
Some of the functions of the NPCs are stripped back from past games, and I feel like when you talk about NPCs, it's fair to compare. I feel like that's the only part that I will compare.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, I feel like I'm in the lower 90s. I kind of want to say like 90, 91. Some people are saying about the lag. I feel like that's a special case.
I hope this doesn't come off offensive, but for the people that are putting 70 or 60, I want to know, why did you play 1,000 hours of something that you thought was a 6 or a 7 out of 10? What is that about? Because part of me feels like if you could play and enjoy something for 2 years, to me, like, that automatically elevates it to a level that is pretty impressive. I guess people do things they hate for a long period of time, but if you got 1,000 hours out of this game, look, my favorite game of last year was Resident Evil Village, and I played that thing for like 9 hours. And I'm not saying time equals a rating, but if you got 1,000 fun hours out of this, even 500 fun hours out of this, I mean, I guess games can be more fun than good, so we'll allow that. But yeah, I'm right there with you, Pat. I mean, I can't compare this to Elden Ring. I can't compare this to Horizon Forbidden West for what they're going for. I think they made the best Animal Crossing. I think New Horizons ends up being the best Animal Crossing. I know it doesn't have this and it doesn't have that, and it does have... It's a fantastic iteration of Animal Crossing. There are the elements you mentioned, like we got items glitching out because the game can't handle it, the slowness of the loading. To me, the technical side is the only thing that keeps this from being like a 97, 98. Like, no game can last forever. No game should be 5,000 hours. No game should have 20 years of content. I think this is absolutely a 9, and I'd probably say for me, like, I'm looking at like a 93, 94.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, there's glaring things. Like, multiplayer is very, very poor. I feel like it brings the grade down at least 3 or 4 points. But I mean, it's not a very multiplayer-centric game. Like, if this game had no multiplayer, I feel like I'd be okay with it. I mean, but just the fact that it is there's nothing really to do. Some of the events are lacking. You know, the NPCs don't really... at the end of it, aren't really great. There's a lot of like things that don't resolve, you know, like cooking. I feel like cooking's there, but what can we really do with it? Like place dishes, you know.
You know what my biggest shortcoming for the game is, and it's in hindsight that it kind of becomes a thing, and it's hard because like we're not reviewing Happy Home Paradise, so I'm kind of pretending that doesn't exist because it's separate. It's not New Horizons, right? So after CJ and Flick and Daisy May got there day one, they never brought a new NPC. And that to me is a humongous oof.
That's true.
Like, why was that not a thing? Why did they... I mean, they should have either saved one of them or they should have invented someone new.
Because you have like Wilbur, you know, Wilbur, Orville, they're new.
They're awesome.
Yeah, you're right. Daisy May, all the new characters are great. They're like crazy good.
So why did they not bring us even somebody new? That would have been so cool.
Yeah. That's always weird to me too. Yeah, they're like, when you think of New Horizons, who do you guys think of as the mascot? Like, I feel like Tom Nook, maybe. I don't know.
I think Isabelle is forever Animal Crossing, but like the dodos are legendary. They're amazing.
The dodos are. I mean, they're great, but yeah, no new characters. Oh, I mean, without Happy Home, I feel like it's an 89, 90. With Happy Home, it's like a 91.
Okay.
Because let's talk about Happy Home.
That I rank it higher than you.
Well, I love this game. I mean, realistically, it's 100, 10 out of 10 for me. But like, the more I play it, you know, it does get a little bit.
It's hard because it's like, if we're not going to consider what they were going for and what kind of game it is, well, it's really kind of lacking. I mean, the graphics are really lacking. The multiplayer is abysmal. The load times are really gross. The things you can do and the limitations are kind of pathetic. So like, it's hard because you can boil this down to, there's a lot of people that don't get it. There's a lot of people that look at Animal Crossing and don't understand what we're doing with our time. But I think all that aside, it's still freaking phenomenal. Like I
mean, how long does it take to load into the game? There needs to be a fast load.
Yeah. Too long. Those videos you record where you're like, it's a new update, and then you have to cut like 3 minutes because you're not actually in the game for like 3 minutes.
Yeah. Let's head over to Happy Home because it's very different. I mean, this is the paid update. Actually, some people here might not even have it because it's like a paid option.
Yeah.
Happy Home before it released was my dream. This was my dream update. I preached this from day one. I was like, this is a design game. Let us do the interior part. For you, maybe not a grade yet, but like, what are some things that you really love about it? And, you know, they did well, they did poorly.
I think that they did a really great job of having new characters. That's why I had to chop that off, because I love having new faces. I love that they delivered not just the same that Happy Home had been before, but they made a new version of it, a new twist. The archipelago is awesome. I think some standouts for me are the focus on the facilities was really nice. I think the fact that it does work with New Horizons allows you to bring back some things, and it improves New Horizons. And I think that the rollout of new features is so much longer than you ever expect. Like, you're constantly unlocking new stuff, and that is what, for me, fell flat in Animal Crossing after a while. Like, you lose that. And so I think they found almost a cadence and structure to Happy Home that exceeded the base game.
I think what they did with Happy Home was fantastic. I mean, yeah, I forgot about Nico and Wardell. Like,
how could you forget the little monkey?
I can forget Nico, but not Wardell. Amazing characters. We got, the return of Lottie. It was just like, character wise, I think for me it really brought the villagers back to life. Like, there was a lot of interactions that we saw, villagers like playing on the beach and things like that. Like, it was super cool. Like, I love that part of it. I will say Happy Home for me misses the mark in one way. I feel like the full catalog and full items that we were able to use, I think it was like House 26 or House 27 that we fully got our full catalog. And that, for me, that was a little bit discouraging because I knew that I had items. I knew that I had DIY that I could use, but I couldn't use it because that was their way of doing progression. So as fun as it was also frustrating a little bit just because of the pacing. In the chat, feel free to give a grade for Happy Home now. This is sad. Why final grades? No, I don't like this. The search function in the catalog, that's true.
I see a lot of people saying that like cooking is kind of like one of their biggest gripes, that like that was a lot of a big chunk of, more recent content, and like it ends up doing nothing. And do you think cooking was just like a huge misstep?
Oh, I think so. For me, honestly, the only other thing I would have done is added another page to the Critterpedia or whatever pedia at that point, and added a full thing. Like, you had to make at least every recipe once. And I feel like just that addition alone would have made cooking more rewarding, or like, a restaurant, like integration with Brewster, something. Yeah. But the cooking just, kind of fell flat. It's like, what do I do now with this plate of noodles?
I think they just they misjudged. Like, they thought maybe that would be like a really cool, fun thing for people to do. And I think it's probably one of the most underused features in the game. It looks like from my chat that Happy Home is very loved. We're getting a lot of 95s, 90s, a couple 80, 85s, but it seems like Happy Home is scoring markedly higher than New Horizons, which is interesting. Yeah,
I think Happy Home, for me, probably out of 100, I'd probably give it like an 85. I feel like it was really great. The island itself, I wish there was more to explore. It's pretty small. It's a pretty small island. I like what they did, though. I'm wondering if, you know, that view when you're making everyone's house, that sort of like creator view where you like are zoomed out and you can like plant trees on the fly and
the top down big view. Yeah.
Will that ever be the norm for the base Animal Crossing game, or is that like it's a perfect format for Happy Home, but like will that ever be a norm?
I hope so. I mean, it is a little jarring that they made design and placing and stuff better in Happy Home, and it doesn't carry it back over to New Horizons. You know, they did bring some features over, but not that in particular. Happy Home for me is such a great extra. I mean, the price point, whether you're part of the expansion pack or not, I think is very fair. I think there's a lot of content to have. I've seen some people say in my chat that it's repetitive after you build all the homes or after you build 40 homes, but like, it's $25. You know, I'm going to pay more to go see Batman this weekend. So like, it's $25 and you got 20, 30, 40 homes or whatever. Like that's pretty darn good. I think it fulfills its purpose very nicely, and it does, like, that was super smart. That's Nintendo doubling down on what they noticed the community loving about the game, the design features. You know, they did allow some things like roommates that were big wishes for the main game that we never could see on our island. I think a next Animal Crossing should have a fully explorable archipelago. You don't just teleport around, but like, as you were saying, more areas that you could kind of explore and see everyone hanging out. I think that's gotta be the direction this game goes, right? It's gotta be a more linked and integrated. I mean, they're saying Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is a seamless open world. You're not going to be loading between areas. That's got to be Animal Crossing. That's got to be what comes next.
Yeah. My favorite thing about Happy Home is, and like people were saying like, oh, it's repetitive. I think the beauty of Happy Home is that we can bring what we learned and some of those features over to our island, because if you guys played on the 3DS, Happy Home Academy, that was a separate game and had zero to do with your New Leaf file. So imagine Happy Home Paradise as a separate game. The fact that we can go home, redo our villager houses, add in walls and control lighting in our own houses. I think that's where Happy Home shines for me. The storyline with Happy Home is really cute. I love the payoff at the end. I feel like we can spoil it, but I won't. Just every little, the catalog of items. And I think if we look back to 2.0 and Happy Home, the reason why we have so many items in the game now is Happy Home. There's no way around that. So yeah, bringing it into our main game is the beauty of it. I mean, designing villager houses, that was like the biggest complaint I feel early game with people. It's like, man, I love this villager, but their house looks like a dumpster, so I don't want them anymore. But now Happy Home, you can make it look whatever, however you want. So that part was genius. That for me was like the cherry on top. But I think it's probably about an 85 for me.
Let me pitch you on something, and we've talked about a hotel before, and Shukin in chat is mentioning it right now. A hotel where you could have villagers as people coming to the hotel and employees. And my pitch for you, Pat, is Animal Crossing Resort, which is a multiplayer focused Animal Crossing, but you also get to build out this resort. So there's still some terraforming, some design, and you get to build up the different rooms and the guests for your villagers, for your hotel, and then you get to have sort of all the fun. You can play beach volleyball, and you can play races, and you can have all sorts of things, and that allows you to still have some design elements, some terraforming elements, but the focus is on multiplayer. And now you can have a second Animal Crossing on Switch because it's mostly about the mini games, but you get to build out this awesome hotel and resort.
Now, sign me up. I'll take anything. I'll take anything. I will take anything. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I feel like we need to discuss this last major free update thing. We gotta dissect this, man, because why would they say that? Why wouldn't they just say like, this is the last? Would they even say this is the last update? Like, why did they? Say it like that.
We can go back and forth on it because it's like, okay, is it the last free update? Emphasis on free, or is it last free update or last free update? Because all the updates said coming in, August, free update. So I think their intention was this is the last update, but like Happy Home is purchasable at any time, so Like, you can still expand your game whenever you want by buying Happy Home, but it's the last update. Period.
Yeah. I don't know. That line is gonna forever haunt me until I know what else is next. I mean, I think the end of free updates makes sense. But if they were to do another paid for this game, it would have to be like on another area. It would have to be another island, so it doesn't affect anyone else's game. I don't know. I feel like if there's anything, if I was a betting man, which I am because Vegas, I'm gonna say like Splatoon, Zelda crossover, or just the ability to unlock amiibo functions.
And it's paid.
Game. I mean, yeah, because you need the amiibo.
Okay.
But
I mean,
can't really.
There's also the option that maybe they just left the door open for themselves. I mean, they're like, man, we made Mario Kart DLC 8 years later. What if we decide we want to do something? So we're done with the free updates. We know that. But like, hey, just crack that door. So in case we come up with a great idea, or in case the Switch does last 10 full years, you know, we can drop something else.
And then I don't know, in the chat, please remind me when the Welcome Amiibo update came to New Leaf, because I feel like that was a long time after the game came out.
Years.
I mean, they didn't have. Yeah, it was like at least a few years, but they didn't have monthly updates back then. Like I feel like the Welcome Amiibo update was like a couple of years after it came out.
Welcome Amiibo.
Oh my god! Imagine an Amiibo update. Fall 2016. Okay.
Yeah, right. November 2016, and the game initially came out well before that, right?
Can you imagine, Zach, the ability to just any amiibo you have, scan them in, they show up at your campsite or something, and oh my god, like a Samus thing. I don't know, like that would be ultimate for me.
It would be pretty great, and it's easy. I mean, these things. Oh, 2012. So it was 4 years later.
4 years later, after New Leaf came out, and I feel like New Leaf maybe didn't take off right away, but that's a long time. So never say never. And I know that some people were asking like, oh my god, last NookTalk ever. I guarantee if when the next Animal Crossing comes out, or if there's another big, like, we'll be right back. So I wouldn't worry about that.
You just got to pressure Nintendo into making something new. That's what we got to do.
Yeah,
4 years.
Pitchforks.
4 years for New Leaf, 8 years for Mario Kart. So there is still hope, guys. We can still be making Animal Crossing videos about new update for another 4 years.
It's gonna be weird though. It's gonna be weird to go throughout the whole year seemingly without anything for this game. It's gonna be weird. Like we're in post.
It's a post Animal Crossing world.
Life.
Yeah, it's definitely a missing for me. I know. I was talking to my mom this morning, and I was like, "Yeah, I got the podcast." And she's like, "What podcast?" I was like, "Oh, we haven't done it for like 4 months, but we're doing one last episode." And she's like, "Last episode for Animal Crossing?" I was like, "Yeah, the game's just done. Like, it is sad.
Sucks. It sucks talking. You know what, Zach? We should just start Pokemon channels and just do Pokemon. We could literally be together forever.
Hey, I mean, you're going to get like 3 a year, so
it's insane.
That would be perfect because like I could be Scarlet, you could be Violet, or like whatever they are, and then it just works together. I mean, yeah, that's why I was saying I wish Animal Crossing would adopt a little bit more of that mentality. I think that I don't know. I think they should merchandise this game more. I think they should give us an Animal Crossing Netflix show. I don't know. Push this IP, man. There has to be some plan to push this, right? Like, you don't have this much. There's got to be stuff being worked on, whether it's TV, movie, game. I don't know, but amusement park ride. Like, there's got to be stuff going on. When you do this well, you don't just say, "Well, that was neat." Like,
yeah.
Business people like money, and this made a lot of money.
The biggest thing is we have one console now. I mean, it would have made sense for the next 3DS game to be, 7 years out, because they were always battling the two console thing.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's that's why we're getting so many Pokemon games, is because, they used to make mainline ones And then they would have spin-offs on console. Like there's one console now. So yeah, Pokemon yearly makes sense. I feel like Animal Crossing doesn't go that extreme, but I don't think we're waiting another 7 years for the next mainline. I mean, it'd be weird to have 2 Animal Crossing on one console, but yeah, I don't see 7 years.
I hope I would. That would be great. Man, that would really be great. All in all, like, phenomenal game. New Horizons, fantastic time. Even though it ended shorter than we would have liked, like, all that stuff was so fun. The show was so fun. I wanted to say that my favorite moment, though, was the unlisted episode where I just got spanked and destroyed and made to sound clueless, and then lo and behold, 2.0 came out. That was such a great moment.
Wait, what episode?
The unlisted episode.
Wait, there was more. The only unlisted episode was like 13.
Oh! I thought you were talking about the Abdallah episode.
The Abdallah episode. I loved that episode. I was like a scared child, and my parents were fighting. No, Abdallah's an old school guy, okay? Abdallah is an old school guy.
So old school that he didn't understand how Animal Crossing was going to work, I guess.
Listen, he was thinking like a businessman. He had his suit on.
And so were we, that this game is making a ton of money. There's a lot more coming for this game that makes a ton of money.
Dude, I think that just...
Go ahead.
What?
I was just going to say, I haven't been in high school since 2008, but that was a day where I felt like I was in school again. And not because I was being educated, but because
he came with a lesson plan.
Yeah.
And we just, you know what though? I feel like we had less, I feel like the show started with a lot of guests, including Zach. Zach was a guest 2 times. But I gotta say, man, the guests that we had on here were excellent. We had Crunchy on here. We had Chase on here. Kang, Kay was on. Like, we had a lot of good guests. And I feel like, when Bobby and I started this show, we wanted all the major players in the Animal Crossing space to be on here because it was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go back to Abdallah. It was so fun because Zach and I were hopeful, like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And then, like, to have Abdallah on and be like, guys, don't be, you're little idiots. Like, it was fun to get people on and, like, share, people's opinions, because no one knew what was going on. It was brand new. And I feel like 2020 to about now, people are going to remember forever. I feel like New Horizons is an emotional game for people now. Like, it's tied to, the pandemic and just a time where, like, people needed to latch onto something to feel some sort of normalcy. I feel like and I'd like to think that the show was a big part of that too. So
yeah, I loved having the guests. I think that was really fun. I think it's okay to say that a good chunk of guests that we would have liked to have on don't do face cam, and that made it very difficult to incorporate them into the show. We didn't want to force anyone to be on camera that was uncomfortable, but there are a lot of Animal Crossing creators that, at least at the time we were, inquiring, weren't on camera, and that made things a bit difficult. But yeah, it was so great to have different opinions and different audiences and different communities, and I think kudos to you and kudos to our communities for keeping this going a very long time. I mean, Pat, my goal for you is I want you to be the last man standing. I want you to be the last New Horizons streamer standing.
Oh man, listen, I'm not going to force it though. I'm not going to put out, hey, this just happened. Like, I'm all about what's actually going on. But no, I feel like this game, I was going to ask you this, like, what's the community going to look like at the end of this year, in a year, in 2 years? Like, Animal Crossing fans, they were playing New Leaf up until it ended. So where do you see this going forward?
I mean, I have to imagine the people that are still here, the people that are bummed that NookTalk 45 is the last one, I think that community is still together. I don't know that it's frequently together. There's not going to be as much, but like as soon as there's a new something, right? As soon as there's a new rumor, a new data mine, or a new trailer, a new whatever, I think it's right back together. But I do think it's okay, and I think it's expected that it will drift for a bit. I think, it's sad but true. I mean, I think, I don't know. I am curious. Like you said, at the end of 2022, how many people are still regularly playing Animal Crossing? Because I wasn't there when New Leaf was sunsetting, so I don't know how much of the community. But yeah, it'd be really cool to see what percentage of people are still at it.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of New Leaf, it was very, very hardcore, where people were like plot resetting. Anyone remember that? And just like, it was just like kind of like a novelty. But New Horizons, I feel like if they didn't make a game for 10 years, please don't, by the way, people would still be playing it. The design community is still evolving. Like, as we're talking right now, people are coming up with ways to make houses out of like glass display cases. Like the creativity is crazy. And the one good thing about having a lull in Animal Crossing is seeing people get creative and make stuff. Like Crunchy Island, I feel like is a pioneer in this time. I mean, he made crazy stuff. He made like community centric things. Then you have people like EJ who's making like a Survivor type game. And like, I remember Bobby would do the Nook or No Nook, like Deal or No Deal style, like game show games. So the community, I mean, we can all agree, dead or not, this community is amazing. Like the community is incredible, talented. The custom patterns are on another level. Like some of these are like pro style pixel art. So yeah, the community I'm not worried about, but it's definitely going to decline at least a little bit. So,
man,
I guess we'll do a little bit of Q&A.
Sure.
If you guys want to know anything, just to finish it off. No. Episode 45, man.
And I hope it's a good memory. Like, I know it's sad that there's not new content to talk about, but like, I hope that this is a fun time and a fun memory. I have a lot of things that, I remember from, I mean, even today, but I look back 5 years, 10 years, and like, I love that I listen to that podcast every day on the way home from, Friday on the way home from school, or I love watching that show. So I hope this does kind of hold a special place for some people. Like Pat said at the top, it's just really tricky to have a NookTalk podcast when Nook has stopped talking.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, this show is always like the source of news and speculation. And, with monthly updates, people needed that. Like, people needed or were interested at least in like the culture of Animal Crossing and what was happening next. So this was always a great show for that.
Yeah.
Katie, thank you so much. Pat and Zach, thank you so much for all the AC content and the wonderful show. Sad to see NookTalk go. I'm looking forward to what's in store. Thank you. Someone said, will we do an ACVC together? We should. Well, what angle would we take? Like, I feel like we were very retrospective here.
Yeah. When is the next episode of ACVC?
I know. I got to bring it back. I'm slouching. I gotta do it. I do have some questions here. Oh,
by the way, Crash just asked a good question here, which is like, will we still make Animal Crossing videos? And absolutely, NookTalk and our like content, I think, don't have any bearing on each other. So Pat's obviously going to keep streaming. I'll obviously continue to make videos. It's just this specific podcast that was, again, focused on the new hotness. It's really cold. We're iced out here. So
yeah. I mean, the only reason why this show is ending is because it's news focused,
right?
And like, we didn't even mention the Animal Crossing new icons, the Animal Crossing like icons that you can have, but like, that's how dry it is. There's nothing new happening. So like, am I gonna stop building my island? No, absolutely not. Bearded, love you, Pat. Hope all is well. From Matt, I hope it's well with you too. All right, let's see some of these. Casey says, in the next AC game, do you think they will go forward with it being a design game, or do you think they will pivot to something else? That's an interesting question because, I mean, it's a heavy design game, but 2.0 focused a lot on characters. They focused a lot on returning characters. So maybe they were like, let's get back to, you know, like a life sim almost. I can't see a world where they pivot and we can't place items outside though. Like I feel like the features that we have are gonna stay, you know.
The next mainline game will absolutely be design focused. A spin-off game could pivot elsewhere, but yeah, I don't see a world where all of a sudden it's just like completely removing what is the most popular part of this game.
Yeah. Let's see. Tornado, we kind of talked about this. If Animal Crossing ever had a paid service for items, like a Battle Pass, Mario Kart Pass, or Sims Pack, what is the number one thing you would want to see in them? So if they did monetize a little bit, what would you want to see? Would you want to see like a season where like every month it would be like a different themed pack that we would get? Would you want to see something in the mail every day? Like,
yeah,
what are we thinking?
I think the seasonal packs would be really fun. I think you can incorporate some crossovers. You can incorporate some holiday-based stuff. I would love to see a focus on interactable items. I love those in the game. You know, the different sodas and boba you can drink, just even the paper bag. Like, I think those are fun. And when you look at like Pocket Camp and you see those monthly pictures they post that are the most depressing thing, like they have so many complex items. We have so many chairs and beds and things, and maybe not enough for some, but I would rather them focus on very distinct items that kind of tell a story of that pack. You know, like that to me would be the most interesting and engaging.
Yeah, I really like what Pocket Camp does, where they have like a pack themed around a villager. You know, so they had like a Kiki pack and things like that. Like that was really cool. Amelia said, so sad NookTalk is ending. Here's a question. What do you think is going to happen to Amiibo cards in stores in the following months? Do you think they'll keep restocking them?
I'm sure that's got to be retailer specific just based on input output. If they're selling, they'll restock. If they're not,
I think long story short, I think Animal Crossing Amiibo cards are going to go through the roof. Okay. I think, well, you might get a lull, sort of like New Leaf, where you might see Sanrio packs on clearance for like a couple bucks in like a year or two. But everyone is going to want those cards again when the next Animal Crossing comes out. And they probably will re-release these cards. But man, if you want Amiibo cards, now is probably the perfect, if you can find them, because they're still hard to find.
Man, they really did just, they could have stretched the Amiibo cards out. They could have stretched Happy Home. It is interesting that they just poured it on. I mean, maybe from their standpoint, they also kind of utilized that as a major fall release. Last year was pretty light in terms of Nintendo's new big fall games. And so maybe it was just like, hey, let's do it all. Let's just make Animal Crossing fresh again.
Yeah. Honestly, in the future, I hope that they add more functionality to Amiibo cards. I mean, if they even will have Amiibo cards, I don't know. I don't know where we're at. Will they have Amiibo readers? Like, it was pretty Amiibo centric for 2.0 and even the game itself. But okay, Pear Bear, do you think Nintendo listens to / will lean into feedback from content creators at all when it comes to the next game? Love you guys.
By lean into feedback, do you mean pay attention or actually ask? Because if it's the latter, they will absolutely not.
No, they won't ask. Okay. Now, there's evidence that they do listen, or we would think that they listen. Do you think at all, any point in time, do you think Nintendo took feedback into any of their updates? I want to almost say no, because like, and then you could say, oh wait, Pat, they added in more inventory. Well, they also added in thousands of new items. So like that, I don't think that they were listening to us needing more storage. The custom designs, maybe that's like the only one I could look at.
I think the answer is yes, but not what like you want them to be listening to. I think they're listening to people posting about star trees and duplication and money, infinite money. Like that's what I think they're listening to. or people complaining like, hey, I was able to, or I wasn't able to progress after this point because I got hard locked into this situation. That's probably more of what they're listening to, but I think you're right.
Oh yeah, someone said the hairstyles.
Yeah, that could be one as well. I mean, I don't know.
That kind of points to it. Yeah.
I view Nintendo as less community oriented than some other developers.
I don't. Okay, let's just say this: they weren't listening as much as people probably think.
Yeah, they have to be paying attention. They're not oblivious, but at the same time, outside of the hairstyle thing, I think they kind of had their plan and their picks, and they kind of just went with it. I don't think they were. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Listen, we got a question. What was your favorite moment from covering Animal Crossing? Favorite moments you've had in the game? Favorite? I gotta say, looking back on it, it wasn't a great memory, but I really liked the episode that we had with Kay where the amiibos just came out. I think was it the Sanrio amiibos? And like, I showed up there and they didn't have my order. They gave it to someone else. But like, just those little moments of like big things happening in the community and then just sitting here and talking about it. That was a good one. Man, I gotta say that the 2.0 trailer, you can't beat it. The 2.0 direct.
I think the lead up to the direct might have. I mean, the 2.0 direct was amazing, but the lead up, like knowing it was coming, knowing that they were gonna like double down, and then for me personally, like, we always pick on each other, but Pat being like, I think it's gonna be 90% Brewster or whatever you said. It's gonna be a couple minutes long, and I was like, no, they're doing everything. Like that was super fun. I mean, there wasn't a dull moment because even in the dull moments, like it was very fun to speculate and hypothesize and hope, and really like from episode 41 to 44, it was just super fun. It's only now that it's a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah, it just all kind of came to a halt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's just there's all sorts of amazing moments throughout New Horizons, like, different updates happening, crunchy races.
Those were great.
The freaking picks of the year, Zach with Sanrio. Zach put out a video basically saying Sanrio is unlocked in New Horizons, like it will be unlocked. You'll get all the characters. And I was watching it thinking, Zach, what are you doing? You're setting yourself up here. And lo and behold, they were added. That was like amazing. And then from me, my little victory was warp pipes. Who, like, come on, man.
That was good.
The warp pipes.
That was really good.
What the heck? The warp pipes, man. As soon as I saw that, I was like, there's no way. But yeah, I mean, just to end it off, because we are towards the end. I know we don't want to end, but this show was started with someone that is no longer here. Mr. Bobby Pauls, the Nintendo guru. And I gotta say, man, like the show ending, and I put this over on Twitter, it sucks because it's news centric and there's no more news, but it's also the last bit of Bobby that I personally have. I mean, listen, he has a channel, you can go watch thousands of hours, but like this was the last project that we had, and we collaborated for 3-4 years before that. So it's sad in that regard. And I don't know about you, Zach. I mean, I think I could speak for everyone here. Like there's definitely like an emptiness, there's an emptiness as all the great moments in Animal Crossing. I feel like, losing him and things like that, like there's definitely like an emptiness in the community. But I just want to say thank you to Zach, because literally, Bobby and I got into whatever we got into, but Zach messaged me like the same day and said, listen, I want to keep the show going. Bring me on. And like, that was, I think, the turning point for the show. Like that was like episode 13 or something. And here we are 45. So yes. Thank you, Zachariah.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure. And, there were times where we were like, how are we going to continue? During that lull before 2.0, we were like, what do we do? And so, like, frankly, the fact that we got this far, I think is kind of a victory. Like, I think it's pretty darn cool. And I will say, like, I don't expect there to be anything. But if there was content, if there was Zelda Villagers, Splatoon Villagers, another paid DLC, we would absolutely be back. And I highly encourage you to watch Pat's streams if you're still looking for AC. You know, I do Good Morning Mario and Nintendo News every day. We definitely pepper Animal Crossing in. So there is still plenty of content to consume. And I hope that you continue to enjoy AC. You know, if you're still playing it and you're still loving it, that is fantastic. I mean, we gave it a 93 and a 91 or whatever. So I don't think there's any bad feelings about the game here. It just, their news has dried up. And so our time comes to a close. But look, again, it's not to say we won't do something else. It's not to say there won't be other videos. So it is the most, it's a superficial goodbye. So
yeah. I mean, someone said will you still be making content when the next Animal Crossing comes out? I will literally, if I'm not, I literally will come back for Animal Crossing. If there's anything within the next 5 years that make me stop doing this, I will come back for Animal Crossing. There's no way. DJ says, will you guys do any collabs in the future? I know you have your own platforms, but we all love you guys together. Love you guys. So here's the thing. I want to be honest about this. I would love to work with Zach. Before the collab with Zach and I meeting in Animal Crossing, Zach was one of the channels that I was like, bro, this guy is he knows what he's doing. If you're a Nintendo gamer fan, Switch Force, you're subscribed to Switch Force. I just wholeheartedly think so. So I would love to work with Zach. I've said, Zach, let's start we can start another show or whatever. If it fits with what we're doing, then it fits. But if not, I'm sure we'll do something. Whether it's a prediction video or some E3 thing, I don't know.
We'll just break into Nintendo and see if they're working on the new game for you guys.
Yeah. So with that being said, we need some hearts in the chats. Thank you guys very much for coming along this journey. I feel like this show wasn't always... I feel like when you talk about the Animal Crossing community, you're talking about very nice and things like that. And there were some things on this show that were said that weren't the most popular things, right? There were some predictions that people didn't like. I'm sure there's things in this episode that people didn't like. But we were always real. We were always upfront, always spitting facts. And I feel like we did a good job. So
yes. I think you all did a good job as well. You showed up, you were here, you were regular, and the show grew. I mean, there were times when NookTalk was, I don't remember specifically, but a fourth, a fifth of what it is now, and that's fantastic. I think it is no secret that this community around AC on pretty much everyone's channel is one of the nicest, most supportive communities, full of camaraderie, friendship, and fun. And I know a lot of you have made friends over this game. You've found passions. You've uncovered different elements of yourself and others that you never thought. I mean, it sounds dramatic, but it's very true. And so I'm really glad that we were able to be a part of it with you and with you, Pat. It was a great way to get to know you. Again, like Pat mentioned, when I was a guest on this show, I was like, I knew you. We did the whole clean up my campsite thing, but I didn't know you. And then we got to meet in real life. So there's a really eloquent storyline around this whole show that I think I'll always remember and always be very grateful for.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Seriously. I mean, like we said, this is the complete Animal Crossing package now. So go have fun, make some new themes, and we will see you in the next Animal Crossing game. Thank you guys again. Have a good night.
One more update. We'll be back. If there's an update, we'll be back.
Yeah.
Promise.
For sure.